Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. Its peak reaches high into the sky, touching the jet stream. Many people dream of climbing it. It is a symbol of great human achievement. But Everest has another, darker identity. It is also the world's highest open-air graveyard. The mountain does not forgive mistakes. It does not care about human strength or weakness. The cold, thin air holds the stories of those who tried to conquer it and failed. The mountain keeps its secrets, and it's dead. The numbers tell a stark story. Since the first successful climb in 1953, more than 6,000 climbers have stood on the summit. But the mountain has claimed many lives. Over 300 people have died on its slopes. It is estimated more than 200 of their bodies are still there. They lie where they fell, frozen in time. These are not just numbers. They are people. The area above 8,000 meters on Everest, 26,000 feet, has a frightening name. It is called the Death Zone. This name is not for drama. It is a simple fact. At this altitude, the human body cannot survive for long. There is not enough oxygen in the air to sustain life. The body begins to shut down, cell by cell. Climbers must use bottled oxygen to have any chance. But even with extra oxygen, they are on a timer. They are slowly dying with every minute they spend so high. The weather in the death zone is extreme and unpredictable. Temperatures can drop to minus 60 degrees Celsius, minus 76 Fahrenheit. Winds can blow at hurricane force, 100 miles per hour. Visibility can drop to zero, erasing the path. When a climber dies here, their body is almost impossible to move. The lack of oxygen makes every task brutal. Safety for the living must come first. On the northeast ridge of Mount Everest, there is an area known by a strange name. It is called Rainbow Valley. The name sounds beautiful, but its origin is very sad. It is not named for rainbows in the sky. It is named for the colorful climbing gear worn by the bodies that lie there. Over the years, many climbers have fallen or died from exhaustion in this area. Their bright jackets, pants, backpacks dot the landscape below the main path. From a distance, the collection of colors gives the valley its name. Rainbow Valley lies below the final push to the summit, a steep, open slope. A fall here is almost always fatal. Climbers too tired or sick on descent often collapse in this area. Rescue is nearly impossible at this altitude. It is a stark, unavoidable reminder. The goal is the summit, yet survival is the true victory. On the northeast ridge of Everest, at around 8,500 meters, climbers for nearly 2 decades passed a tragic landmark. In a small limestone rock alcove, a silent figure came to rest. He became known to the climbing community by a simple, stark nickname, Green Boots. The body was located in a natural overhang that offered shelter from the relentless winds. He was lying on his side, curled against the rock, as if merely resting. His name came from the one feature that stood out against the bleak landscape, his bright, neon green Kaflak climbing boots. Seeing Green Boots became a complex milestone. It meant the final summit push was close, but he was also an unofficial marker, a grim, sobering point on the map that every climber on the north side mentally prepared to encounter. For years, his true identity was a mystery. The prevailing theory was that he was Tsewang Paljor, an Indian climber lost in the infamous 1996 blizzard. Paljor was wearing green Kaflak boots on the day he and 2 teammates were caught in the storm during their descent. It's believed they tried to shelter in the cave, but tragically did not survive the extreme cold and oxygen deprivation. His visibility on the main climbing path led to a difficult ethical debate as photos and videos began to circulate online. For some, it documented the harsh reality of Everest. For others, it was a profound violation of dignity. For the climbers who passed him, seeing Green Boots was a deeply personal confrontation with mortality, a silent teacher of humility and the mountain's ultimate power. Then, in 2014, climbers noticed the cave was empty. The body of Green Boots had disappeared. It's widely believed he was moved and given a burial on the mountain, likely at the request of his family. His story, however, remains an indelible part of Everest's lore, a powerful symbol of the many climbers whose final resting places serve as a solemn warning to all who follow. Among the silent memorials on Everest, some stories are particularly poignant, speaking to the razor-thin margin between triumph and tragedy. One is that of Frances Arsenteieff, an American who aimed to be the first woman to summit without supplemental oxygen, a feat that pushes the body beyond its known limits. In May 1998, alongside her husband Sergei, she reached the summit. But on Everest, the summit is only halfway. Exhausted and weakened, she collapsed during the descent and was separated from Sergei. He went back into the darkness to find her but was never seen alive again, likely falling to his death. The next day, another team found Frances barely conscious, her pleas of "don't leave me" echoing in the thin air. But in the lethal environment of the death zone, a rescue was impossible. Faced with a horrific choice, they were forced to leave her to save their own lives. For nearly a decade, her body, known as Sleeping Beauty, remained on the main climbing route. In 2007, one of the climbers who had left her behind returned, wrapped her in an American flag, and gently moved her from sight, offering a measure of peace. Frances's story is a singular tragedy, but it echoes the events of 1996, when a sudden storm trapped multiple teams high on the mountain, killing 8 climbers in a single day. Among the dead were 2 of the world's most respected guides, Rob Hall and Scott Fisher. A combination of crowding and delays led to summit fever, pushing for the top too late in the day, leaving no margin for error. Rob Hall, known for his caution, refused to leave a weakened client. Stranded, he radioed base camp and in a final heartbreaking call was patched through to his pregnant wife to say goodbye. Scott Fisher, another powerful guide, succumbed to extreme exhaustion on the descent. The 1996 disaster was a brutal lesson that on Everest even the most skilled are not safe, and it raised urgent questions about the risks of the mountain's increasing commercialization. The dream of Everest is powerful, a siren call to adventurers across the globe. For Shreya Shah Chlorfine, a Canadian entrepreneur, it was a call she felt compelled to answer. Born in Nepal, she had grown up with the mountain in her heart, and the desire to stand on its summit became the defining ambition of her life. She had limited high-altitude climbing experience, a fact that would later become a point of tragic focus. But what she lacked in experience, she made up for with an iron will. She was utterly determined, pouring her life's energy into this single goal. She saved for years, a testament to her dedication, to pay the significant fee for a commercial expedition, a modern pathway to the summit that promises logistics, support, and a chance at the top for those who can afford it. In 2012, after weeks of acclimatization and grueling effort, she stood on top of the world. But her journey ended there. The summit is only halfway. Reports from that day suggest she spent too long celebrating her achievement, ignoring her Sherpa guide's urgent pleas to descend. In the thin air of the death zone, every minute counts. She ran out of supplemental oxygen on the way down. She collapsed from exhaustion and oxygen deprivation. For a time, her body lay near the summit, a stark memorial draped in a Canadian flag she had carried with her. Shreya's story is a personal tragedy, but it highlights a systemic issue. Everest grows more crowded every year. The narrow weather windows for a summit force hundreds of climbers onto the same route at the same time, creating dangerous traffic jams in the death zone. People wait for hours at bottlenecks like the Hillary Step, getting colder, weaker, and burning through their finite supply of bottled oxygen. A delay of 1 or 2 hours isn't an inconvenience. It's a critical loss of resources that can mean the difference between life and death. The mountain is vast, but the safe path is perilously narrow, and the margin for error is zero. Several other climbers died that same day in 2012, a day now infamous for its long queues and tragic outcomes. The commercialization of Everest has put the dream within reach for many, but it has also created an environment where ambition can eclipse judgment. This raises difficult questions. Should the number of permits be more strictly limited? Should expedition companies have a greater responsibility to turn away clients who may not be fully prepared for the mountain's unforgiving reality? The drive to reach the top is a powerful human impulse, a desire to test our limits against the grandest of stages. But the mountain always has the final say, and the ultimate price of a dream should never be a life. In 2006, British climber David Sharp attempted Everest alone. He was experienced, but chose to climb without a guide or team. He summited, then ran into trouble on the way down. He took shelter in Green Boots Cave, exhausted, out of oxygen. He slowly began to freeze. Over the day, an estimated 40 climbers passed him. They saw him, some spoke to him, but no one mounted a full rescue. They were in the death zone. They were at their limits, forced to choose survival. The death of David Sharp sparked a global moral debate. Sir Edmund Hillary was critical. Summiting seemed to outweigh helping a fellow human. The community examined its values. Rescue here is not like a city street. It is lethal and complex. What do we owe each other in the world's harshest places? His story offers no easy answers. Long before Everest was conquered, there was George Mallory, a British climber who tried 3 times in the 1920s. In 1924, with Andrew Irvine, he made a final push, then vanished into cloud. For 75 years, their fate was unknown. In 1999, a team found Mallory's remarkably preserved body. He lay face down, as if bracing for a fall, skin pale as marble. His clothing and equipment belonged to another era. Irvine and their camera remain missing. In 1979, Hannelore Schmatz became the first woman to die on Everest after summiting. Overcome by exhaustion, she stopped to bivouac near Camp 4. For years, her body sat visible on the route, eyes open, hair in the wind. Eventually, the wind blew her over the Kangshung face, a haunting reminder across decades. Bringing a body down from Everest is difficult, dangerous, expensive. A recovery needs 6 to 10 highly skilled Sherpas. Bodies freeze to the mountain, hard as stone. Lowering them is slow, technical work across lethal terrain. It can take days, with storms always looming. Missions can cost $30,000 to over $70,000 or more. Families face a terrible choice: risk others and spend a fortune, or accept the mountain as a grave. Many climbers state that wish beforehand. Recent efforts relocate remains off the path, offering more dignity. Despite dangers and costs, people still come. The pull of Everest is profound. It is a challenge, a dream, a chance to touch the sky. But it teaches humility, our limits, and the fragility of life. The silent figures are not just warnings, they are part of Everest's history, forever bound to the peak.